Every year, millions of cars die. But instead of disappearing, they're reborn. Not in a mystical sense, but in the most industrial, practical way imaginable. Because the world's largest source of recycled steel doesn't come from mines, it comes from scrapyards. Your neighborhood junkyard, packed with rusting cars and twisted metal, is quietly powering the global steel industry. Think about that for a second. The car sitting in your driveway, the one that's too expensive to fix and too sentimental to sell, could one day become the steel beams of a skyscraper, the rails of a train, or even the chassis of someone else's brand new car. The story of that transformation is one of the most efficient and strangely poetic processes humans have ever built. When a car reaches the end of its life, it doesn't just vanish into nothing. It takes one last ride to the intake bay of a recycling plant. There, technicians check its ID like bouncers at the gates of reincarnation. Every vehicle is scanned, photographed, and uploaded into a digital database. They log its VIN, its year, its make, and its condition. To most people, it's just paperwork. To recyclers, it's the first step in turning trash into treasure. They start by looking for anything that can still make money. Engines, transmissions, electronics, seats, anything that works gets pulled out and sold on the used parts market. You'd be surprised how many lives one car can live before it's finally done. An engine that's traveled 200,000 miles in one vehicle might end up powering another for another decade. What's left after this salvage phase? The twisted frame, the worn metal, the plastic shell. Moves on to its next stage, dismantling. Before anyone touches it, though, there's one priority: safety. Cars are basically chemical cocktails on wheels. There's gasoline in the tank, coolant in the radiator, oil in the engine, brake fluid, refrigerant, all waiting to spill or ignite if mishandled. So before the dismantling begins, workers hook the car up to a fluid extraction rig. Think of it like a car blood transfusion. High-pressure pumps drain every drop into underground storage tanks, separating each liquid for filtration. And here's the clever part: none of it goes to waste. The filtered fuel often powers the facility's forklifts and generators, meaning old cars literally keep the recycling plant running. Once the fluids are gone, the real work begins. Wheels come off first, big, round, heavy, and packed with opportunity. The tires, one of the toughest materials to deal with on Earth, are shredded and reborn as playground flooring, running tracks, or even fuel for industrial furnaces. The metal rims, steel or aluminum, go straight to smelters. Then come the windows and windshields, which might look useless, but the laminated glass inside hides a layer of PVB, a plastic film that can be reused in soundproof materials and safety coatings. Even something as simple as a windshield has a second life waiting for it. As the crew moves deeper, the car starts to look more like a skeleton. The doors come off next, sliced away with precision tools. Inside, every wire, every tiny motor, every circuit gets stripped out. Copper from the wiring, magnets from the motors, steel from the hinges. It's all separated and sorted. The seats and dashboard are pulled, shredded, and processed into reusable plastics or insulation materials. Nothing is left untouched. Every bolt, every clip, every ounce of metal has a destination. And then comes the big stuff: the engine and transmission. These are the heart and muscles of the machine. And even at the end of their life, they're worth money. Some engines are cleaned and resold. Others are torn down piece by piece to harvest the valuable metals inside. Aluminum blocks, steel shafts, copper wiring, and even precious metals hidden in catalytic converters all find their way back into the economy. What's left after this brutal ballet is a clean steel body, free of flammable plastics or tangled wiring. The next step is compression. The car's frame, once 4 meters long, gets crushed into a cube the size of a washing machine. Imagine thousands of pounds of metal reduced to a block, so dense it feels like it could sink a ship. The machine behind this feat? A baler, a hydraulic press capable of squeezing 25 to 40 cars per hour. Some yards use flatteners instead, machines that crush cars into pancakes. They're faster, cheaper, and great for transport, but the trade-off is density. Others use shear balers that chop cars into bite-sized pieces ready for smelting. Each method has its pros and cons, but the goal is the same. Take something bulky and irregular and turn it into compact, transportable metal. From here, the real show begins. Those dense steel bales are loaded onto conveyors and fed into industrial shredders, the mechanical heart of the operation. If the crusher was powerful, this is pure chaos. Imagine two massive rotating drums lined with interlocking teeth spinning in opposite directions. When a steel cube drops in, it's torn apart in seconds. The sound is thunderous, a metallic roar that vibrates through the ground. Within moments, a car that once filled a driveway becomes a mountain of shredded metal fragments, ready for sorting. The steel's journey doesn't stop there, though. The billets are reheated and sent through hot rolling mills where giant rollers squeeze them thinner and longer, shaping them into the forms we know: beams, bars, plates, or coils. Sensors monitor every millisecond, ensuring the metal cools evenly and maintains its strength. When the fiery glow fades and the steel cools under streams of mist and air, you're left with a material that's cleaner, stronger, and far more efficient than anything dug out of the ground. And that's the quiet beauty of this process. It closes the loop. A car that once carried families across highways can one day become part of a bridge that carries thousands more. A truck that hauled goods across the country might return as the frame of a new electric vehicle. Every cycle saves 70 to 80% of the energy needed to mine and refine new ore, and it cuts emissions dramatically. The auto recycling industry doesn't just save money, it saves resources, space, and time. It's a $60 billion machine built on the principle that nothing is truly waste. That $48,000 car you drive today might feel like it's losing value every time you hit a pothole. But when it reaches the scrapyard, it still holds a kind of hidden wealth. Even after a decade on the road, the steel, aluminum, and copper inside it are worth hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. Multiply that by millions of cars, and you start to see why auto recycling isn't just a side hustle for junkyards. It's a full-blown industrial empire quietly feeding the global economy. And it's surprisingly high-tech. Gone are the days of greasy guys smashing cars with sledgehammers in dusty yards. Modern auto recycling plants look more like aerospace factories. Everything's tracked digitally. From the moment a car enters the lot to the second its last bolt is melted down. Robotic arms do most of the heavy lifting. Conveyor belts carry shredded metal like rivers of silver. Cameras and sensors check for contamination. Even the air is filtered because nothing gets wasted. Not fumes, not dust, not heat. If nature gave us iron ore mines, humanity built artificial ones. Old cars are exactly that. Artificial mines, full of precious resources waiting to be rediscovered. Mining new iron ore burns massive amounts of fuel, consumes water, and scars the planet. Recycling a car's steel, on the other hand, uses up to 74% less energy. That's not a small number. That's the difference between one factory's annual energy bill and an entire city's. And this isn't just about steel. Each car that goes through the system yields aluminum, copper, glass, plastics, rubber, and even small amounts of rare earth metals used in sensors and electronics. The tires might become playground flooring. The copper might end up in your next smartphone. The aluminum could turn into airplane parts. The same atoms that once roared down a freeway could someday fly through the sky. Standing in one of these facilities feels surreal. You see cars, things we emotionally attach ourselves to, stripped down and shredded like tin cans. But the deeper you look, the more beautiful it becomes. It's a cycle of rebirth hiding inside a pile of wreckage. Every clang of metal, every hiss of steam, every spark from the furnace represents renewal, not destruction. At the furnace, the spectacle is breathtaking. Massive graphite electrodes descend into the heart of an electric arc furnace. They crackle with electricity so powerful it looks like lightning trapped in a cage. The shredded car metal melts in minutes, glowing white-hot as it turns into liquid steel. Workers in reflective suits monitor the cauldron from behind glass, like scientists watching a star being born. Sensors continuously analyze the alloy composition. Robots add lime and flux to draw out impurities. In minutes, the chaos of a car's former life becomes something pure, a river of molten metal with infinite potential. Once it's ready, that glowing river flows into molds where it begins to solidify. Water-cooled rollers guide the red-hot stream as it transforms into long rectangular billets. These billets, still radiating heat, glide down massive production lines like glowing snakes. Machines slice them with surgical precision. And for the first time in this entire journey, the metal takes a breath, cooling, calming, becoming something tangible again. And when those billets finally harden, they don't stay still for long. They're reheated, pressed, stretched, and rolled in mills where each rotation of the rollers feels like watching power itself being sculpted. A rough block becomes a perfect coil of steel, gleaming silver under the factory lights. It's hypnotic, seeing something once forgotten take on new purpose. From here, that steel could go anywhere. It might become beams for a skyscraper in Dubai, or a bridge in rural India, or maybe poetic justice, part of another car, fresh off an assembly line, ready to start the same journey all over again. And that's the fascinating part. Cars don't really die anymore. They just change form. One vehicle can live multiple lifetimes across different industries, different continents, even different centuries. The metal in your car's frame might have once been part of a battleship, a train, or a factory machine from the 1950s. It's the ultimate recycling story, one that's been happening quietly for decades. Every time a new car rolls off the assembly line, chances are it already carries a piece of history. Maybe a sliver of a car that carried a family across Route 66. Maybe part of a bridge that once stood in Europe. It's all connected in this endless loop of rebirth. But beyond the poetry, there's real impact. Recycling old vehicles saves natural resources, cuts landfill waste, and reduces emissions that would have been generated by mining and refining new ore. For every ton of recycled steel, roughly 1,500 kilograms of iron ore, 800 kilograms of coal, and 50 kilograms of limestone are saved from being mined. And multiply that by the hundreds of millions of tons processed every year. You start to realize we're living in one of the most sustainable industrial systems ever built. And most people don't even notice it. It's also a massive job creator. Hundreds of thousands of workers around the world make their living from this cycle. From the scrapyard crews who strip cars to the engineers designing smarter furnaces. It's the invisible workforce keeping the circular economy spinning. The circle never really ends, it just keeps spinning. Faster, smarter, cleaner. So, what do you think? Would you ever want to know where your old car ends up? Or better yet, would you drive a new one made from its bones? Let me know your thoughts below. And stick around. Because there's a whole world of hidden industries like this, quietly shaping the planet without us even realizing it. Because sometimes, the most incredible stories aren't the ones being built. They're the ones being rebuilt.